So when I chose osteopathy, the reason behind it was when I was 11 years old, I suffered a bad back injury from growing too tall and also being a competitive horse riding athlete. And then from that, I tried other therapies. Osteopathy was the one that worked for me. It wasn't necessarily my main first goal to become an osteopath. That's why I had a gap year. So it was either being a vet or it was being an osteopath. Then I discovered a non-medical approach to treatment for humans, and then also potentially going into equine osteopathy later on. So that's why I chose osteopathy in the end. I think the main reason I chose ESO was the general feel of the place when you go for that open day. I really enjoyed the atmosphere. I enjoyed the people when I went there. I quite enjoyed the clinic environment as well, which I think, looking back at now, would have been my main focus initially, because I think the last 2 years are paramount to how you develop as an osteopath, to like your foundation for when you leave university. I think the nice variety of different types of approaches to treatment is what is quite appealing about the ESO. It's quite interesting because before the pandemic I worked for another clinic as well, and the owner of that clinic studied at the UCO, and he actually only applied ESO students purely on the fact that he found that the wide variety of treatments that they'd all developed into their own approaches more beneficial. And I think that's taken from different aspects of different tutors and probably just how they've built up their own clinics, and then they bring that into their lessons, and it's kind of like a core substance, and then you're given those tools and you adapt them to how you like them. I think that is the main focus when you get out of university. It's finding a clinic that suits you, what you're going to learn. And I think, so especially here at this clinic at Cityway, because there's so much of a big team around, it is still kind of like being in the ESO clinic environment, and you can then bounce off of each other. And osteopathy, especially in the first, I would say, 2 years post-graduating, you're learning so much still, and being in a supportive team, kind of keeping that family feeling that the ESO kind of bring, helps significantly to becoming the osteopath that you want to be. Was my experience at the ESO a positive one? Overall, it was positive. It was tough. It's a tough course. You learn a lot more than you ever thought you were going to learn. And I think that's a good thing, because you learn about pharmacology, you learn about physiology, pathology, all of these things which, are very beneficial when you come out of university. It was very positive. I think what made it positive for me was being in a good group of friends that I developed at the university. They were kind of like a support bubble that you can use when you're in clinic, when you're stressed, when you don't understand something. You can go and practice before and after lectures. And then I think having teachers around constantly is always quite nice, but having a variety of teachers is quite beneficial. I think overall, you learn the fundamentals at university, well I did at ESO, and then you take those fundamentals and then you bring them to your clinics, and that's where you start to kind of blossom. And the good support around you at a clinic, which is vital, and I would say to anyone that's graduating, is get the support around you that you want and that you need personally, because that makes your clinic life easier and also you learn more. My long-term goals would be, I would definitely like my own clinic. I would like to have people working aside me, and establishing a clinic that can educate new osteopaths as well. And give them tools that I've started to already learn. I don't think that's necessarily within the next 5 years, because there's a lot still that I would like to learn personally first as an osteopath before I can then invest that into something else. But then I would also quite intrigued into getting into maybe a rugby team. I'd like to do that kind of sports aspect, which sometimes I feel isn't necessarily discovered as much as I would have necessarily liked at university, but it gives you the basis from that to then go and do that outside when you do graduate. I think that for me, it's such a rewarding job to do, to be able to have someone to come into your clinic, not necessarily just because they're in pain, but also to give them the knowledge that they deserve and that they want. It's such a rewarding feeling that they can leave here and give them goals and give them things, from your treatment sessions, and manage that patient to where they want to be, whether that be 3 weeks' time, 3 years' time. It's such a rewarding thing for me to do.